Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me yet again is Andrew Meadows.
Hello.
We're back.
We're back. Again.
Yeah. We did it again. We got a little overzealous with our discussions.
We just like to talk, man. It's cool.
Yeah, well, we do. Guilty as charged. We came back from our hiatus with 2017 a year in review. We kind of touched on really, I guess we kind of hit on television for 2017, and then we kind of briefly got into film for a little bit. But we're going to get into a lot more for this episode, and I think as was the case with that first part of our 2017 coverage, it's going to be a lot of discussion. We're going to have opinions that will sometimes align and sometimes not align, and that's totally cool. Just to kind of cover our bases, we touched on this in the other episode, but for those folks that are kind of just tuning in now, we haven't seen everything.
And you saw a whole lot more of the conventional nominations for these specific awards that we're going to be talking about than I did. So my opinions are a little bit more, I guess, unconventional than probably yours are.
Maybe,
just because I have limited exposure to the content that we're going to be discussing. But I don't think that it makes them less valid, though.
No. Absolutely. I wouldn't discredit your opinion on anything. It's it's a different perspective. I think I made a concerted effort to really kind of see a lot of the movies, kind of make a last minute push to try and to see everything that I thought might qualify for kind of the best of 2017. Some of it did, some of it didn't. That's just kind of the way it goes. But I'm glad that I did get a chance to kind of mostly see what I, wanted to see. So anyway, enough rambling. I guess we can pretty much get into it. But I guess before we do, I just want to do a quick shout. We got a new website up. We talked about it last episode, but we're going to talk about it again. And we have a Patreon set up. And we're going to have a lot more details about that on the end of the episode, because I don't want to get too in the weeds here, because we got a lot to talk about. So on that front, we're going to hold off on news and
get right into it.
Yeah. So on this episode, we're going to do the technical categories, which we in large part pilfered from Oscars and a couple other award ceremonies. And then we're going to get into our top 5 films for the year. So we're going to get into the first technical category, which is Best Original Score. So I wasn't sure where to go with this when we kind of put the categories together. My initial thought, because it was one that stuck with me, that something that really kind of elevated the tension of the movie, was Dunkirk. Hans Zimmer for Dunkirk.
I was in the same boat.
And that's not what I ended up going with, because I spent yesterday, the night before we recorded, I spent some time actually doing a little bit of a deeper dive on some of these scores to kind of give myself a better idea of kind of what I listened to. Dunkirk's a really good score, and I think that Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfisch did an excellent score on Blade Runner 2049 as well. John Williams, with his usual excellent work on Star Wars The Last Jedi. All extremely good scores, and not my winner. My winner is Alexandre Desplat for The Shape of Water.
Ooh.
Because, and this is going back to our Shape of Water episode that we put out probably about a month or so ago. I think when we did that episode, we mentioned how we were recording it like probably 3 or so days after we'd actually seen the movie.
Right.
And at the time that we recorded, I had seen the score cited widely online as something that was like really spectacular.
Couldn't recall it though.
But I couldn't remember it. And I was just like, if it's not that memorable, then I can't, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about a score that I hadn't listened to and couldn't remember. I went back and listened to it.
How is it?
The memories fucking flooded back in, and I would wager a bet that if you queued it up on Spotify, you would feel the same way. Because as soon as I started it, within maybe 5-10 seconds, I was just like, this is a fucking excellent score. And I listened to the whole thing last night, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Okay, yeah, see, I should have done that.
It really just kind of, like I said, all the kind of the emotions that I felt when I watched the movie really flooded back in a big way. And it's just something about the way that it's composed. It's almost whimsical at times, but it made me feel emotional just listening to it. And I think that's the mark of a score that's
Absolutely.
really just fantastic. Like you said, Hans Zimmer had a really good year.
Yeah,
I
he
think
did.
the tension in Dunkirk is unparalleled, and I think that the way that score is constructed is great. Blade Runner 2049 is an excellent kind of spin on the Vangelis score from the original Blade Runner, and then, like I said, fucking John Williams. But for me, the Shape of Water score, when I listened back to it, like I said, all those things just kind of flooded back in. I was just like, I can't believe that I didn't remember this.
If you can remember the movie through the score, then that's something to be said for sure.
Yeah. So that was kind of my pick. It's probably a pick that'll probably be he won the Golden Globe, I believe. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wins the Oscar too. But given that you haven't listened to it, I imagine you have a different response.
I do. My initial pick, much like yourself, was Dunkirk because it carried the tension of it carried the movie. And without Hans Zimmer doing Dunkirk, I feel like Dunkirk would almost be a shell because the score was so strong in that film. But my personal pick, and this is what ended up being my favorite score for 2017, was Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfisch for Blade Runner, because I've listened to that. I've played FTL to Blade Runner 2049 this year. I listen to it when I go to sleep. Sometimes it's a really good fucking score. So that was my pick. And much like your experience with Shape of Water, now I fully expect if I listen to Shape of Water independently, like I have Blade Runner, then it very easily could have changed my opinion. But just like you said, we watched it a couple days later, and the score, and that's a mark of a good score, to be fair. Something that blends in well with the film. It's so in tune with what's on the screen that it goes almost unnoticed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas Dunkirk, it leaned into the score, whereas in Shape of Water, it must have just it elevated what's on screen. You know what I mean? So you can kind of go either which way. But anyways, my pick's Blade Runner. It's a fucking outstanding score.
It's a good year for scores.
Absolutely.
Really good year for
good
scores.
Music.
All right, we're going to get into some screenplay stuff, and I guess kind of somewhat of a disclaimer. Obviously, we haven't read the screenplays of this. This is mostly just, I guess, more the writing, the best writing, I guess, if you kind of wanted to put it as such. So we have this delineated the way that the Oscars have it, where we have best original screenplay and we have best adapted screenplay. So obviously, original is anything that's not based on any pre-existing content. Adapted is based on novels, graphic novels, whatever the case may be. So we'll start with the original screenplay. I started. So what do you have for this one?
This one was this one was difficult, and I ended up going with the emotional resonance that I left the theater with when I saw it. So my number one pick was Taylor Sheridan with Wind River. I picked Wind River, and then I started thinking about it, and then I started debating, and then I ended up just going back with Wind River because I left that theater feeling just empty. And it left a significant impression on me. For I would say for probably a couple of days, it was in my head. It was a ridiculously well made movie. But the one I was debating it with was Martin I'm gonna fuck up some names tonight.
McDonough.
Yes, with 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. That was a incredibly well crafted screenplay.
Martin McDonough has a way with fucking characters.
Yes, that was a really well made screenplay. So it was up between those, but Wind River just left an impression with me, and that's why I went with Wind River.
Yeah, I mean that's a good call. I had 3 that I kind of really debated on this one.
Damn.
Three Billboards Outside of Missouri was one of them. It's not the one that I ended up picking.
Right.
But Mark McDonagh has a way with characters, as I said. You can see it in Bruges, Seven Psychopaths, anything that he's really touched.
All of them.
Just the dialogue is so snappy, and the characters are very often, occasionally irreverent. You're a cunt, Harry. You've always been a cunt.
Your kids. For fuck's sakes, why do you bring my kids into this? Oh, it's so good.
Probably have some more cunt kids. You retract that bit about my fucking cunt kids. I retract that bit about your fucking cunt kids.
Oh, it's so fucking good. It's such an awesome movie.
And he said, you don't hear that. You don't hear that sort of dialogue really outside of his kind of movies. You know, he has that unique style.
Quentin Tarantino and him kind of...
Tarantino, yeah, absolutely.
They kind of had the same kind of vibes, I think.
He said, I'm talking about it now. I'm like, shit, maybe I should switch right now and give it to him. I'm going to stick with what I had on the paper. Like I said, massive shout out. And I think he was probably a very, very close second to what I ended up picking. But what ended up being a third to what I ended up picking was The Big Sick, written by Emily V. Gordon and Kumail Nanjiani.
Didn't see it. That's the sad one, right? Or it's a love story, right?
Kinda. Yeah, it's a love story. I mean, it's based on Emily V. Gordon and Kumail Nanjiani's actual real life relationship. So they're married in real life. So
that's fucking cool, man. That's cool in and of
spoilers
itself.
For the ending of the movie. But basically, she kind of has this. You know, she basically goes into an induced coma for a while, and kind of explores, their relationship, and then kind of him dealing with, her illness, and him kind of meeting with her parents, who are fucking excellent, Holly Hunter and Ray Romano. But basically, it felt so earnest, and it felt so true to life, and the big reason for that is that I'd say probably 80% of it is literally just the actual story of how they met and what happened in real life between the two of them. They embellish certain details of it.
I got kind of goosebumps
they
just
make it
that.
little bit more Hollywoodized, but it was a really beautifully told story. And it, for something in that genre of, it's almost rom-com-esque in some ways, but it felt so true to life. In ways that most movies in that genre don't tend to feel, and I think the reason for that is because it's so authentic. It's such an authentically told movie, and so that's why it kind of stuck out to me. But the reason that I shied away from it, obviously being number 3 of all the movies I saw this year is a pretty big fucking deal. But the reason I shied away from that, and the reason I kind of steered more towards Three Billboards and my actual eventual pick, is that was based off something that actually happened. So, writing down what happened and then embellishing the details and making it something like a story worth telling, like that's incredible. It's an incredible story. But to be able to come up with something that is just completely fictional and doesn't have like a real, well, okay, my best original screenplay is Get Out, written by Jordan Peele.
That's fucking good. Yeah, that's an incredible screenplay. Yeah, for sure.
And I was gonna say, I don't know. I was gonna say that it wasn't really. It's not. It's obviously it's fictional.
But it's still real.
it's about as real as it can be without being literally real. So it's something that plays a lot with modern societal issues, shall we say.
Yeah.
And in a way that's satirical, but so fucking poignant and absolutely on point in everything that it tries to say, while wrapping it up in a package that is really just well written. I'll talk about Get Out later, spoilers. But in terms of the screenplay, just really creative. A mishmash of certain genres, but in terms of combining true to life themes and just putting it into really kind of an entertaining, creative blend of horror trappings, comedy trappings. Like, it blends so many things together that to be able to put so many things into the blender and then it comes out as this, astonishing.
Yeah, no.
Jordan Peele obviously is one half of Key and Peele. We know that he's capable of hilarious comedy, but to be able to really kind of bring it to that next level, really impressive work. So that's why I ended up on that.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Fucking talking about 10 minutes about goddamn screenplays. All right, best adapted screenplay.
What's your best adapted screenplay?
I had only one for this. It's Call Me by Your Name. The screenplay was written by James Ivory based on the book by Andre Aciman, 2000 novel. This is a really beautiful film, but the story that it tells, I don't know if you're really familiar with this, but it's kind of a tale of first love.
Okay.
Just the actual story, the writing, the dialogue between really all the characters, and just kind of everything about it. I saw it only a couple days ago prior to recording this, and it really, really captivated me. So that's kind of why it's my best adapted. I haven't read the book. I don't really know kind of how well it translates the material, but I do know that it was based on material, so I'm assuming that it probably, he was pretty close to the source material. So that was the only one that for me, it was an obvious pick. I didn't even think about anything else. I knew that it was based on a book, and I knew how much it really had that really sincere, authentic kind of bent to it. So that's why I picked it.
Mine, and I'm going to feel like a complete idiot if it's not an adapted screenplay, but I feel like it probably should be. Probably from Old Man Logan.
Yeah, Logan counts. Yeah. It was actually nominated for the Oscars for Best Adapted Screenplay.
Right on. Good deal. Scott Frank, James Mangold.
To be fair, it's based off of multiple
iterations of Logan.
Iterations of the character. But yeah, right. It's absolutely adapted.
Scott Frank, James Mangold, and Michael Green. These are all names that I can pronounce and feel confident that I pronounce them correctly. For Logan, and like I said, I was 90% confident that this would have been considered an adapted screenplay, but part of the reason I really enjoyed Logan was the fact that it told a story that has not been told on film about Logan, and it did so very, very, very effectively.
Logan,
yeah.
Logan.
And Xavier told a good story about him too. But I think Logan's a solid contender for that. I mean, just for what it is. The whole reason I like Logan to begin with is because of this adapted screenplay. You know what I mean? Just because of the characterization of Logan within the film. So that's the whole reason why I like Logan. So that's my best adapted screenplay. I am excited to talk about the best sound design for 2017.
Okay, so just a note for this. So I think there's a sound mixing and a sound editing award for the Oscars. I just combine these into a general sound design. So you said you're excited about it, so I guess it's... yeah, go ahead.
I hope that I don't sound like an idiot when I do this, but I believe that this nomination goes to Johan Johansson. Mother's sound design was fucking outstanding. It had no score, and the tension of the film was brought to life through the articulation of just the noises within this home. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Mother had any nominations. I think you told me this. But I think Johan Johansson, or whatever the fuck his name is, I don't feel so bad because it's a foreign name, but if he did this, whoever did this, I don't know who did it. I'm pretty sure it was him.
Yeah, I think it's probably a multiple people involved in that, because I think Aronofsky, because Johan Johansson, I want to say, I don't know, I'm not sure either. But I think the story was that he composed a score,
and then it was cut,
and then Aronofsky just said, no, it works better without it. So it's probably a group effort. I'm sure Aronofsky probably deserves a good amount of credit. Darren Aronofsky, director of Mother, deserves a good amount of credit for probably at least the idea to be like, hey, let's just let the fucking house speak for itself.
And essentially this house, if you haven't seen the movie, At least I haven't seen it again, so I'm going off several months worth of memory. But the home is essentially Earth, and the house tells the story. The tension within the home is told within the creaks and the just the noises that the house makes, and it's it's so fucking good.
Yeah, no, that said, it's not what I picked.
What'd you pick?
My pick for this was Baby Driver. In terms of the mixing of the soundtrack and the blending of it with really the action sequences and the way that Baby conducts his getaways to the tune of, whatever the song is that he's using for that particular sequence. Just the way that they're synced up, the way that they're kind of really kind of mixed together. I thought that the use of songs in it is unparalleled. I think when we talked about how, Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn, great use of the soundtrack. Baby Driver took it to the next level by really fucking integrating it into the plot. And so for me, the use of the soundtrack and less so, the score, and less so the actual, it is absolutely the construction of, the set pieces themselves, the car. The car is, its character almost in some ways in terms of the sound design. And to be able to kind of pull that off in the way that Edgar Wright and company did, for me, Baby Driver really fucking took it to the next level from a technical standpoint, as far as sound design. I did think about Last Jedi as well. I think that, Star Wars sound design is always impeccable, but I thought that, something like Baby Driver really just was something new. It took something maybe that, you had previously kind of seen, explored, and then, like I said, just kind of took it to that next level. And then you get your Dunkirks, which is turn everything to 11, baby.
I saw the nomination. I think I said this last night. We're gonna nominate Dunkirk for best sound design or best audio mixing. Motherfucker, you didn't mix shit. You just made everything super fucking loud.
They put everything except for dialogue at 11, and they put the dialogue at a 3, so you can't hear anything. You're like, what? What are you saying? Huh?
I think I have hearing problems now from Dunkirk.
I like Dunkirk.
Oh no, Dunkirk.
It's on my top 5.
But
Dunkirk is good.
Dunkirk was good.
All right. Moving on, right? Yeah, moving on. Best editing. I can start here, and it's a follow-on to what I just talked about, Baby Driver.
Yeah, we got the same pick.
It's the exact same principle of the way that they constructed that movie in respect to integrating the soundtrack into the very core of the movie, and that opening sequence of Baby just kind of going down the street, getting the coffee run and everything and bringing it back. It's the way that it's stitched together to the point where you see the lyrics of the fucking song that he's listening to kind of, graffitied on the wall and on street signs and stuff like that.
Right.
The attention to detail there is astonishing. I mean, obviously, it's somewhat accomplished with visual effects, but still, just across the board, really technically impressive. And I like Baby Driver a lot. I think it was a really good movie. But I think in terms of kind of the technicality behind it, I think it's very impressive.
No, I completely agree. I had the high points of the editing for this movie came from the certain beats within the music were queued up to the actions within the characters of the movie.
Yeah, like the gunshots and stuff for fucking
drum beats, boom, boom, boom. Or symbol. Yeah,
right.
And it's just the extra mile. I know when we used to make movies and shit in the garage and whatnot, we used to try to do stuff like that, and it's stuff that I just really appreciate it. I appreciate it with you see it more so in marketing materials, I think, than you do in actual movies. The most recent one that comes to mind is the Black Panther trailer with the beat and the tracing of the Black Panther letters, and it's really good, right?
Punisher 2, the trailer that was synced up with 1.
Yes. Oh man,
Metallica's 1.
Yeah. So best editing, hands down, Baby Driver, because you had a movie worth of that kind of shit, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's the whole way through, and it's It's a good movie to boot.
And I had Jonathan Amos and Paul Mocklis as your editors for that movie.
Credit where credit is due. Fucking bravo. Best visual effects.
John Nilsson, Paul Lambert, and Richard R. Hoover and Gerd Nevzer for Blade Runner 2049. That's my pick.
That's a good pick.
If you want to summarize it, if you say, Andrew, listen, pick one scene that sold you on the visual effects, I would say the intimate scene between Joy and our boy, who? Kay, yes. And I would say this is the reason this movie is best special effects right here.
That's a good pick. My pick is a movie you didn't see.
What?
So I'm holding that over your head.
What movie?
More for the Planet of the Apes.
Okay. Well, I guess that's a visually effect-driven movie. Sure.
That is a movie about every single character in there is nothing but visual effects. And it's all performance-driven. Don't get me wrong. But it's the visual effects that sell the movie. And We the Digital's work on that is, I would say, unparalleled on this, in the sense that to really kind of accomplish that throughout the entire movie on such a technically convincing level. And yes, certainly, you have creatures that are based off of real life creatures, but to really kind of do that in a convincing fashion, to make you buy into those characters, and it doesn't take you out of the movie like, oh, these are obviously just CG characters. Sometimes that happens. That doesn't happen in Planet of the Apes because that's literally all you get, and they feel very well integrated into the world. They don't feel like CG elements, superimposed onto a real landscape. So I think that just for the breadth of work that's done there, that's why I would pick that. But Blade Runner certainly is fucking excellent. And we can kind of roll into, this is another category they added last minute, best production design. And the reason I added it is because I wanted to shout out Blade Runner 2049 here. Oh. Because I think that visual effects, I think more for the Planet of the Apes, like I said, for the reasons I mentioned, I think that's why I picked it there. But for production design, Blade Runner is amazing in terms of the set construction, in terms of really just the style of it, and really capturing that world and expanding upon what we saw in that, the original Blade Runner. I think that the production design of Blade Runner is just fucking gorgeous. Like the Walls Corporation, anything there, when Kay,
pyramid and shit. Yeah,
the pyramid. Kay goes there and has that, I think, that first meeting with Love, and you see all kind of the original. He's when he's creating the replicants, you see kind of like the replicants. They're almost engineer-esque from Prometheus,
right?
Just the way that those are shown, just the actual architecture of everything there, the Vegas sequences, and really just kind of the dingy look of kind of everything,
right?
Just everything about it for me is just like straight into my veins. I need it, man. So that's my pick.
My pick for production design goes to, where's it at? Shape of Water, which is Paul Austenberry, Jeffrey Melvin, and Shane View.
Good pick.
And I feel like every year, if you have a Guillermo del Toro movie that is released that is 100% in the heart of Guillermo del Toro, I feel like he's always going to win it in production design, only because he makes that universe so believable. Not to the detriment of Blade Runner, okay? Because Blade Runner was definitely flushed out. But with Shape of Water, it's rooted in actual... It's supposed to be a historical piece. I feel like if you would have shot the film in black and white, okay, and put it out there, I feel like you would have thought that the movie was shot in that era.
And just to cut in for a minute, I think I read an article where Del Toro mentioned that he did consider shooting in black and white, which I find interesting because I think you mentioned that on the episode, but we talked about Shape of Water as well.
Really?
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that's a thing. We can fact check that, but I'm pretty sure that I don't know exactly where I read it, but I remember seeing something along those lines and just immediately keying back into the fact that you're like, you picked up on that. It was just like, just the way that it was designed. Like it feels so accurate. It feels so,
it's believable.
Yeah.
You know, it's an authentic experience, and everything from the costume.
But it's not rote. It's believable, but it also has the flourishes that Del Toro brings to the table that accentuate it beyond just. It's not only believable, but it's just.
There's an injection of Guillermo del Toro in it.
There's just it's the Del Toro factor. Yeah.
You know, so. For that reason, they won the production design. I was completely sucked into that world. Not that I wasn't sucked into Blade Runner, but if I were to,
no, you got to pick one. It's tough sometimes.
Right, you know what I mean? And if you can take, and this is something I suffered with. I suffered with it with Mindhunter. If you want to set something that's supposed to be in a previous era. Right, this is an era that's, and I didn't live in the era, so I mean, I don't really have a say-so in how it was. I don't have a valid opinion on how it was, but with futuristic set pieces, it can be any kind of, you know what I mean. You can show me anything, and I'll be sure I'll buy into it. But with authentic older things, it's harder to sell me. You know what I mean? But down to the costume design, down to the set pieces, even the way that the characters, I mean, and this is not production design at all, but even the way down to the way the characters interacted with each other and the mentalities of the characters, it was just an incredibly believable, the whole situation was believable. So that's why it was my pick. What did you get for cinematography? What was the best cinematography you've seen all year?
My pick for best cinematography is a credit to the man that has been robbed of like 20 Oscars to this point, Roger Deakins, Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner 2049 is the most gorgeous film I've seen last year, 2017.
We agree on one. Look at there.
Yeah, it's really just a follow on to the production design. Where everything is so gorgeous, and then Deakins brings that to life in a way that is just absolutely fucking astonishing. For this fictional world for it to be realized in this way, it transports you to that world. It really does. And the shot selection, just the way that characters are framed, the way that the setting is framed. Roger Deakins has never won an Oscar, and this man is responsible for the cinematography in Sicario.
Yeah.
Blade Runner, obviously. Skyfall.
Oh, man. He did all those?
Yeah, he's partnered with the Coen brothers on like True Grit, A Serious Man, which I know you like. No Country for Old Men.
God damn, dude.
Like, his resume is absolutely fucking ridiculous, and the fact that he has never received a Oscar for it is a complete ridiculous oversight. That said, Oscars are what they are. It doesn't change the fact that he is one of the best cinematographers, if not the best, kind of in the business right now. Blade Runner 2049, again, most gorgeous film I saw in 2017,
hands down.
And
not hands down. I mean, there's other good cinematography out there.
It was again a good year for cinematography. Wind River.
Okay, I was going to say Wind River. Yeah, Wind River was a good one.
Taking advantage of that setting. Ben Richardson's the cinematographer on that. Shape of Water, as you mentioned, Dan Laustsen. But for me, just to realize the world of Blade Runner, Roger Deakins' work is bar none.
Yeah, bar none. It was an incredible. It was. You just take all the dialogue. I mean, if you want to have a Baraka-esque film, okay, you could take out.
It's your jam.
I listen. I'm a cinematography guy. I can sit there and watch absolutely nothing as long as it's framed properly and looks nice. I'll sit there and fucking watch it. The shots coupled with the score of Blade Runner, it's a fucking really good movie. Even the characters, there's the movie I think is artificially lengthened by just shots. You know what I mean? Like the last shot with with Kay on the, was it Kay or was it Harrison Ford? I can't remember. On the steps.
That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Even that shot seemed to linger, right? But you couldn't look away. You didn't want to look away. You know what I mean? It was just a beautiful shot. The eyeball in the very beginning, and then you know the it turns into the to the farm or whatever, the solar farm or whatever the fuck that thing was in the very beginning. Just the whole thing. It's such a beautiful movie. Anyways, we'll move on because I'll sit here and ramble on. Who got your best director?
Guillermo del Toro is my best director
deal.
for 2017. And basically every reason that you elaborated upon for your production design, I think applies to why I picked Del Toro for best director. To add my input on that, The Shape of Water is definitively a fucking Guillermo del Toro movie. From every aspect of it, you can feel his presence in every shot and every, you know, moment in that movie. And to me, that's a credit that the director is an absolute presence on the scene. You know, he doesn't do everything on it, obviously. You know, he's not acting for everyone. He's not the cinematographer on it, but you can feel his presence and really everything form, right? and every movement, every tick. And so for me, that's why Del Toro is my best director, because his vision is realized so immaculately that it kind of stands above some of the other ones. You know, like I think Denis Villeneuve in Blade Runner 2049. He's a great director and it's a great movie, but I think that, you know, Del Toro's vision just shines through the most in every aspect of the film. You know, to the point where it is unmistakably a Guillermo del Toro film.
No, that much is apparent. My pick for best director, for the very same reasons. And listen, I am 100% on board with Guillermo del Toro. He's probably one of my favorite. But I'd like to give a shout out to Taylor Sheridan for Wind River, because the same exact reasons you give it to Guillermo del Toro, his resume is Guillermo del Toro's resume is far more extensive than Taylor Sheridan's is. But with 3 movies under his belt, and 2 of which I don't think he directed, right?
Yeah, he's been a writer for what, Hell or High Water, Sicario. Yeah.
And he didn't direct those, right?
Correct. Yeah, he was just a writer on them.
Okay, he was the writer on those films. He goes in and directs Wind River, and you can see, you can feel the same. You can feel that he's attached to that movie. Yeah. Which to me is ridiculous. Because I think you told me that those 3 movies are supposed to be they're supposed to have the same thematic themes, you know, or they're kind of a trilogy of sorts, kind of like the Cornetto trilogy that Edgar Wright has with Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End. It's kind of, you know, there's loose connections, you know, not overt plot connections, but thematically, yeah, very 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 tied together. Right, and Wind River for me it was just such a good movie. It was so subtle in how it delivered everything it delivered. And his involvement with the film was present just in overt ways. I mean, he's not as distinctive as Guillermo del Toro, but then again, he's covering much more submersive topics and themes. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So best director for me is Taylor Sheridan, just because to me he's almost like up and coming, whereas Guillermo del Toro's been involved in film. He's got an extensive resume, and I think Taylor Sheridan is somebody to watch out for, because he is making some really good shit. And Wind River left a lasting impact on me for a couple of days, and I remember when we watched that movie and we left the theater and we just kind of like, fuck, what do we do now?
Yep, I know what you're talking about. All right, we're gonna get into the acting.
Yeah, here we go.
Categories here. These are the big ones. This is Cohiba Baby. This is the Monte Cristos of. Actually, okay, so we're going to do Best Supporting Actor first. And I was doing a little Sam Rockwell bit. He was my runner-up, or one of my runner-ups to this, but I thought that was worth mentioning, that I was doing a little Sam Rockwell bit, and Sam Rockwell was actually one of my picks for Best Supporting Actor, and I fully believe he's going to win the Oscar for it, for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, but he was not actually my pick for it. But I guess I'm already talking, so I'll go ahead and reveal my pick, if that's cool.
Who's your pick?
Well, my other runner-up was Michael Stuhlbarg for Call Me By Your Name, and he wasn't even nominated for an Oscar, which is fucking insane. But the reason I didn't pick him here is really because I gave him a big shout on our first episode as my pick for the Who Won the Year award. So I wanted to kind of shine a light on someone else and kind of go with a more unconventional pick that is also someone that did not get nominated for an Oscar. And that is Adam Driver in Star Wars The Last Jedi as Kylo Ren.
Nice. A little Star Wars action, huh?
You know, Star Wars isn't really kind of traditionally thought of for acting, but Adam Driver is the best performer in that movie, and he is so fucking good. And it's worth mentioning, you know, Kylo Ren, Ben Solo probably has the most meaty part to really kind of chew on in terms of plot developments and character developments. Mark Hamill has a lot to work with Luke Skywalker too, and I think that he's certainly up there in the conversation. But Adam Driver, in terms of everything that he brings to that performance, for someone that, you know, you could really kind of categorize as a petulant man-child, for him to bring out the emotions in that character in a movie like Star Wars, that, you know, like you said, it's not known for its acting.
Right.
It's not a franchise known for high caliber acting. It's not that anyone's necessarily. I was going to say that not necessarily anyone's bad in it. I'm like, oh, hold on, the prequels exist. That is incorrect. Nothing but bad acting in that, except for Ewan McGregor, who was a national treasure. But to elevate, I guess, the material, and I love Star Wars. Of course I love Star Wars, and I think The Last Jedi is great, but Adam Driver fucking takes good material and makes it amazing. So I think to elevate that character of Kylo Ren into something even more compelling than it already is, I think is a credit to him. And what I point to is his scenes with Daisy Ridley as Rey. Every time they're quote unquote sharing the screen together, in which they're probably acting separately, honestly. I mean, those scenes are, I would assume, filmed separately. Like, I doubt that they're actually interacting. So he's performing with no one or someone off screen that's just feeding him dialogue, so, you know, he can respond to that. Dude's acting by himself in some ways, and the way he pleads with Rey, please. When it's just an emotional appeal to her. I don't think anyone in this world could have sold that the way that Adam Driver did, and I fully believe that. I love Star Wars. Star Wars gets me emotional, but I can still see faults in Star Wars where they exist.
Sure.
And I don't see a fault anywhere in Adam Driver's performance, and so, like I said, it's not your conventional kind of pick for a supporting actor nod, but for me, it left such an impact with me that being unconventional and shouting him out is kind of, I felt strongly enough that, he's my pick.
We have equally not conventional picks. So my runner-up was Woody Harrelson as Willoughby in Three Billboards.
Another fucking excellent Woody Harrelson performance.
Yeah. I didn't pick him. I picked Gil Birmingham in Wind River.
Wind River, yeah.
Okay, and he played the entire time they're investigating the death of this girl. Gil plays that girl's father. And I want to say the reason that movie left an impact that it did when I left the theaters was because of him. It was a ridiculously powerful performance. So that's why I picked him. He played a grieving father, and it was completely authentic and very believable, and it was haunting the way he played it.
Yeah. No, that scene, I think it was just kind of him He's on like a swing or kind of like the back of his house. And, you know, he's interacting with Jeremy Renner. Fucking just incredibly moving performances. That's a good call.
That's the one I picked.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot.
Who did you pick for supporting actress? I feel like you're going to get a little bit more creative than me on that.
Well, probably more creative in the sense that the two ones that I thought were worthy of mentioning are probably movies that you didn't see.
Okay, yeah, see.
So the person that I think is going to win the Oscar that I did not pick was Allison Janney in I, Tonya. She plays the mother of Tonya Harding, and she's kind of just this... She's a real shit mom, basically. You know, she's just kind of a hard ass and very abrasive personality, and it's a complete transformation for the actress, and I think that's why it's probably the trendy pick. But my pick is Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird. She plays the mother of Saoirse Ronan's character, who calls herself Lady Bird, and just a ridiculously authentic performance. Yeah, I bought into everything that she does. Just everything that she does, just so emotionally driven. And Lady Bird is a really well written movie, and in terms of really kind of capturing that kind of spirit of being a teenager. It's a slice of life movie, and it does such a perfect job of really kind of encapsulating that. And I think that Laurie Metcalf's performance and that is just one of the many things in that movie that takes, again, good material and just elevates it.
My best supporting actress goes to a really cool lady named Ana de Armas, and she played Joy in Blade Runner 2049. I picked her because she, one of the topics, if you talk to anybody that's seen Blade Runner 2049, at least the conversations that I've had with people that have seen it is, how do you think that she was an authentic character, or do you think she was a programmed character? And that's the conversation that comes up every time, consistently, and I think that her performance leads to that discussion. Because she felt very thoroughly in love with Kay. She was an incredibly authentic character, and she played an important role for an entire theme of that movie. And she blew me away in her role. And then when she was, spoiler, when she was crushed, I was left, holy shit, they crushed Joy, and she left a lasting impression with me.
I think that's a really strong pick, actually. And again, that's more of kind of your untraditional kind of, picks in terms of, I guess, like, your Oscars and stuff like that. But it's absolutely true, because it's up to the actress to really kind of embody a character that has to be ambiguous in that way.
Right.
She's an AI. I mean, she's unambiguously an AI. It's just a matter of whether you read into her character as just being programmed or something that evolves beyond her programming. And that is a very kind of difficult line to toe.
Because you can easily play a female supporting actress that is in love with somebody. But it's another thing to act. It's another way to act that way. You know what I mean? And that's essentially what she was doing.
Right.
Was she being an actress, or was she involved with that character? And it was a very compelling role for her. So yeah, that's why I picked her.
Yeah, it's probably telling that I haven't done it yet, but I've been meaning to make the Joy notification sound my iPhone text tone for ages now. I've been like, since the movie come out, I'm like,
that'd be awesome.
I want to do that. And then I'm like, oh, it's a pain in the ass on the iPhone. I'll get around to it when I can.
Right.
And I have to like make a custom ringtone for it. But yeah, Ana de Armas is she's really great in it. So yeah, I think that's a good pick. I agree with that. All right. Let's get to the big ones. Let's get into the big ones here. Best actor.
My best actor is Jeremy.
Jeremy?
Jeremy Renner.
Good old Jeremy. He's back, baby.
Jeremy Renner as Corey Lambert in Wind River. He was just an authentic fucking dude. You know? He's an authentic guy who wanted to live a simple life, tracking fucking game, and he stumbled across this dead body, you know, and he has to be the liaison for the FBI, and he has to be that middle ground for the I don't know if this is correct or not. You might have to edit this out. I don't know. But it feels like institutionalized racism against Native Americans. And he has to almost explain, he has to almost be that listen, this is the fucking problem. You know what I mean? For the FBI agent.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, because she comes in, I mean, it's just culture shock for Lizzie Olsen's character.
Right, and this is the way people live here. You know what I mean? And he has to almost explain all of that in a very organic way. And his interaction with Gil at the end of that movie was incredibly authentic because he's suffered losses of his own, and he's just fucking Jeremy nailed it, dude. He fucking nailed that role. And that's my pick. I didn't really have any other picks. When I thought of best actor, I thought of good old Jeremy.
Old Jeremy.
Who was your best pick?
This is one I actually struggled with. In terms of, I don't know that there was a lot of really good performances, but not one for me that was just like, obviously that's the fucking one. And so I kind of struggled with this. So, Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour.
I imagine that was really good.
It's a really good Churchill. Movie itself is pretty good, not amazing, but Gary Oldman, is fucking Gary Oldman. Of course, he's going to deliver a great performance. Telling Me Chalamet and Calling Me by Your Name, really, really impacting performance. Again, those two, I think, in terms of the Oscars, I think that either of those winning wouldn't surprise me, and I think they both are well deserved. I kind of went unconventional though with this one too.
Oh.
I went with the man that will never receive an Oscar for his performance, Andy Serkis, War for the Planet of the Apes as Caesar.
That must have been a really good fucking movie. I never saw it
because I've seen the way that the mocap technology works these days. You're not going to have a good performance without a good underlying actual mocap performance, and Andy Serkis is obviously kind of the pioneer for really kind of making that as prominent today as it is, and so respect obviously is warranted for that. But Caesar is not the character that he is without Andy Serkis, and that obviously goes for Rise and for Dawn. But in terms of War, this is kind of a hardened Caesar. This is a he's been altered by the serum or whatever the hell it was that really kind of, evolved the apes. This is a fatherly Caesar at times. This is a, militaristic Caesar at times. And this is just a emotional Caesar at times, really kind of just depending on the circumstance. And War for the Planet of the Apes, it kind of ropes you through a few different really kind of aspects of Caesar's personality and behavior, and as kind of the spoilers swan song for Caesar. It's fucking incredible, and I think it's ridiculous that in terms of kind of the award ceremonies, Andy Serkis and any other the CG, any of the mocap performers don't get recognition for what they do
it's almost like
it's buried under beautiful technical visual effects, but it is absolutely 100% Andy Serkis's that you see.
It's like when you take V for Vendetta comes back to mind. When you take the character's physical abilities away, you know what I mean? He has to accentuate everything in such a way so it's captured on the computer, and for that to be carried over and such a and you did I'm not gonna lie, the way you just described Caesar, just kind of like fucking, ooh, I need to see that movie. kind of hit me in a way. You know what I mean? That he goes through all those character tropes as the movie progresses. So I need to probably buy that movie next time I go to Best Buy. To be fair, I actually looked for that movie last time I went to Best Buy. I couldn't find it, so I might have to pick that up on the Amazons. But for the same reasons you picked him as the best actor, that's why I picked my best actress. My best actress, and it was debated on. I have 2 runner-ups for best actress, but my best actress went to Sally Hawkins as Elisa Esposito in The Shape of Water. She plays a mute female, and she does so in an excellent way. For a character to be able to convey every emotion that you ever need to convey without saying a fucking word is incredible. And for the emotional responses that she displays throughout the film, it says a lot about her performance. And that's why she was my pick. But runner-ups include Jennifer Lawrence as Mother, who did an excellent job of conveying the stress and the conviction and the pain of that character. She did an excellent job of making it a terrible experience. And Frances McDormand as Mildred in 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. She did a fantastic job as well. But ultimately, the reason Sally got my pick is because she conveyed a wide spectrum of emotions without saying a word, which it's almost like a hat tilt towards your performance, because you didn't have to say a thing for me to feel everything you wanted that character to convey. So that's my pick.
It's a good pick. Best actress. Honestly, this was the category that I struggled the most with. And I mean that in terms of there was some ridiculously good performances this year from actresses in lead role. In terms of runner-ups, Frances McDormand, as you mentioned, and 3 Billboards. Again, it's a credit to Martin McDonough to really kind of create that character, but Frances McDormand realized that character. She's fucking so good in that movie. She's good. She's always good. We want to talk about burn after reading. She's fucking excellent in that too. That Fargo. Yes. So she's always good, but she's especially good in 3 Billboards. And my other runner-up was Saoirse Ronan in Lady Bird, as Lady Bird. She just took a kind of larger than life character in some ways, and a really, really emotional, beautiful script and character, and just embodied it so well that Lady Bird's a really
I
good
need to see that movie. Yeah, I kicked myself for not seeing that.
But Saoirse Ronan's great in that. But I had to pick one, and the one I picked was none other than Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it. You take away one of an actor's best features and see what they can do with it. And for Sally Hawkins to deliver the kind of performance that she does in The Shape of Water without really using her voice, ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's nuts. There's only one other performer that comes to mind, and it's what the fuck's his name? I can't even think of it. He didn't even come to mind. I can't remember his name. Hugo Weaving. Yes.
You take away the actor's tools. And for her to deliver this performance, I've got no words for it other than it's awe-inspiring. It's truly awe-inspiring what she brought to the table for The Shape of Water, and for what it's unconventional. It's an unconventional movie in terms of it's a love story between a woman and a fish man. But in terms of kind of the trappings of it, and in terms of the overall tropes of it, I don't know that Del Toro necessarily brings anything particularly noteworthy to the table in terms of the script of it. I think it's fairly straightforward in its approach in spite of its content. I think the content itself is kind of what makes it unconventional. And then Del Toro brings his other flourishes in other ways. It's a pretty simple story, I guess, is kind of what I mean. So I think that Sally Hawkins taking what's on the page, which is good, unconventional, but not anything we haven't necessarily seen before, other than in terms of kind of what it's trying to depict. Again, to take that role and elevate it, hats off. All of the hats, it's breathtaking. It's really breathtaking what she did there.
All right. That's it for the technical awards. We're going to get into our top 5 for the year, and we're going to start with some honorable mentions.
So what are your 4 honorable mentions?
My 4 honorable mentions are... Oh, this is tough. I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, did I make the right decision? I'm still weighing my options. My 4 honorable mentions are The Shape of Water.
Oh.
Just finished outside my top 5. It would be my number 6. If I had to assign it a number, it would be my number 6. Lady Bird, which I also think is fucking excellent, would be my number 7. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, would be my number 8. And Baby Driver would be my number 9, if I had to assign numbers. And The Shape of Water and Lady Bird, I wanted so badly to find a spot in my top 5 for them. And I shuffled the order of these a lot of times before I settled my final order. And I literally almost just shuffled my number 5 out to put The Shape of Water back in at number 5 after talking about it.
Talking about these movies gets you fucking hyped about the movies.
Yeah. And I thought about it, and again, I've stuck to everything that I decided earlier today under a clear and cognizant mind, and I'm sticking with what I wrote, and those are my 4 honorable mentions. So, yeah, what about you?
My 4 would be 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, and this is no particular order. Dunkirk, Logan, and Mother. And all 4 of those movies are, with Logan, if there was going to be any particular order, I feel like Logan would be the last one. So Dunkirk, 3 Billboards, and Mother are incredibly artistically made. They're just very well made films. Logan, I think, is just in and of itself is just a character piece, which is fine, not done to its detriment. It's still a really well made movie. But at the end of the day, Dunkirk, 3 Billboards, and Mother offer more. And if I could take one off of my 3, and if I only had 3, I would do Dunkirk, 3 Billboards, and Mother versus Logan.
That is fair. Good choices across the board. You have my approval, sir. I think it's time to get into our
top 5 films, the crescendo of this episode.
Yeah. Ooh, we've been building into it for 50 hours.
Number 5. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Star Wars The Last Jedi. I talked about Adam Driver in it, but I think everyone's great in it. I just think that Adam Driver was the top performer of I guess really a quartet of performers that just fucking gave it their all. And I love Star Wars, and I love what this did for the franchise. I know for some that's probably an unpopular opinion, but I think that Rian Johnson very smartly kind of created a soft reset for the universe, and I loved pretty much almost everything that he brought to the table with The Last Jedi, in terms of kind of his ideas and really in terms of the execution of that. And I think that the plot arcs that he brought to the table for all the characters was very strong. I thought that as a continuation of The Force Awakens, maybe it didn't pay off some expectations in terms of kind of what we thought we might get, certainly in terms of Snoke, maybe Rey's parentage and stuff like that. It definitely kind of subverted a lot of expectations and harped on, failure more than people probably wanted to see out of maybe characters like Luke Skywalker. But I thought that everything that he brought to the table was fresh and novel, and for me, as a Star Wars film, it's fucking beautiful, and as a film, it's just kind of evaluating on its own merits. I think that it's a very fucking original vision for something that could have been wrote, something that could have been
within
by
the realms
numbers.
of within the constraints that it was put in.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that, nothing against what JJ did with The Force Awakens. I adore The Force Awakens, and I think that it was absolutely necessary for the franchise, but I think another Force Awakens, maybe it probably would have made more money than The Last Jedi, but I think that in terms of allowing for the longevity of the franchise, in terms of, breathing new air, breathing fresh air into it, I think that The Last Jedi was absolutely what Lucasfilm needed to do. Which makes me a little worried about Solo, because again, it's just one of those things. I'm just like, what are you guys doing there? And they don't seem to be confident in what they're doing there. Whereas Last Jedi felt like fucking Lucasfilm knew what they wanted to do, or more accurately, Rian Johnson knew what he wanted to do with it, and he ran it by Lucasfilm, and they said, "This is fucking excellent. We're doing this. Do 3 more movies for us, you fucking genius."
Yeah, no, for real.
So Last Jedi is number 5 for me. But again, Shape of Water is a beautiful fucking movie. I just think that if The Shape of Water was a little bit more original in terms of its story, outside of just the love interest
fucking original, holy shit. Poor choice of words. That motherfucker was original as shit, dude.
No, I don't think so, though. It's original in the sense that it's a fish man instead of a regular love interest. But if you copied and replaced the fish man with any sort of regular love interest, I think that in terms of
like a prisoner within the state and the need to
I don't think that it necessarily
out.
brings anything particularly new to the table, other than the fact that it subverts everything by making it the fish man aquatic creature. And I think that that's not to discredit it. I'm not discrediting it. It's fucking 6th film. If I had to rank it for this year, that's pretty high. I just think that, like Michael Shannon's villain. Michael Shannon's great as the villain, but I think that could have been more there.
Sure.
And I just think that in terms of the structure of the film, I think it's pretty. We've seen it before in terms of just kind of the general structure of it and kind of how it plays out, but I loved the fantastical nature, and I loved that fairy tale setting. I love when Del Toro plays with those themes. For me, Pan's Labyrinth is Del Toro exploring a new territory while still exercising his comfort in that genre. And I think that The Shape of Water is close to that, but it's not quite there. So that's why I put Last Jedi above The Shape of Water. Although, like I said, I very nearly switched them out just talking about The Shape of Water, because I think it's an incredible achievement. I'm sorry, I just talked a lot about Star Wars. Please, you're number 5.
Hey, listen, dude, it fucking happens. I will like to preface this with none of my top 5 films or honorable mentions is Star Wars. So I'm stepping a little bit outside of my range. My number 5 film was Get Out.
Okay, I guess I'll just step outside and let you take the floor for the next. I mean, did you not want my top 5 episodes? I'm confused.
Wait, what did you say?
I'm
sorry.
You just told me to get out. I don't understand.
Well, I'm a little buzzed here, so I thought I actually stepped out of line by saying my pick. Just to be completely
son of
honest
a
with
bitch!
You,
How dare you?
I thought I fucked up.
How dare you talk about a film that talks about racial identity and?
I thought I fucked up though. I thought I went before you or some shit. I was like, oh fuck, I'm sorry. Get Out. I got 4 picks before it. Get Out was a fucking excellent movie, and
I think it was shit.
Listen, these top 5 movies for me,
garbage.
Okay.
Even though it was my winner for best original screenplay, I think it was absolute trash.
When we were setting this up, I asked if these top 5s are going to be in any particular order.
Yes,
because it's
tough.
Each one of these top 5 movies brings something completely different to the table, and why I appreciate them. Right, so it's hard to pick top 5 films. So when you listen to my order, just remember that my personal opinion on these top 5 movies is if you did not watch a single fucking movie within 2017, catch these 5. Okay? Get Out's really good. and it brought some horror tropes, some suspense tropes, some modern problem tropes, and it just did a lot of different things. It brought a lot of different things to the table, like you said before. It brought a lot of different things to the table and threw it in a blender, and this is what came out. And it came out really fucking good. And I could take it from number 5 and put it on number. I could put it on number anything between 2 and 5, and I'd be pretty content with it. But it's number 5. It's a really good fucking movie, strong movie. And if you didn't watch it, watch that shit because it's really fucking good. Number 4. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Call Me By Your Name.
I didn't watch it.
It's directed by Luca Guadagnino, Italian director. I don't know that I've seen any of his films prior to this. This movie really impacted me in a way that I didn't expect it would. So it's got Timothée Chalamet. He's like a 17-year-old in Italy. Armie Hammer. He's kind of he's like a grad student that goes and spends time in Italy with the 17-year-old. Basically, his father's a professor, played by Michael Stuhlbarg, and so this is the grad student kind of goes there. It's kind of like a summer work study kind of thing for schooling. And I didn't really know a whole lot about it when I walked into it, other than I knew that it was kind of depicting a gay relationship. But I quickly realized that, that was just kind of part of the story it was trying to tell. It had a lot more to offer beyond that. For me, Call Me By Your Name, it struck home in the sense that it's about a first love more than it is necessarily about two men falling in love for the first time. It's more about just kind of about the main characters really kind of dealing with, the emotions that kind of come with that type of relationship and grappling with everything that just kind of comes with the territory. And Timothée Chalamet's performance is just it's really restrained at times. But the kind of the closing shot of this movie is just really one of the most affecting things I've seen, and it's one that I think that for me kind of put me over the edge. And I absolutely adore the setting that this movie has. So it's kind of, it takes place in the summer in Italy, and I just loved the architecture that it shows. There's a lot of time spent in like pools and waters and stuff, and just I've never been to Italy. I spent a couple of weeks in Europe, and Italy was the one that we scratched from the list. I think we wanted to do Rome as kind of our 5th city that we wanted to go to, and we scrapped it. And I watched this, and it didn't take place in Rome, mind you, but I just see the setting here, and I'm like, I want to live in this movie. You watch this movie, I promise you'll understand exactly what I mean. It's just gorgeous. So the setting for me really just kind of drew me in. And really even from the opening credits, just the way, there's like handwritten opening credits in some ways. Like the text of it feels kind of handwritten, and it was very charming from the beginning. And it just drew me in, and I think that all the performances were just excellent across the board. I thought that the setting was just enrapturing for me, and I enjoy watching Armie Hammer dance to what's the name of the song? I've been listening to it for like fucking 20 times a day since I saw this movie. Psychedelic Furs, Love My Way. It's a song. I've been on a new wave kick for a couple of weeks now, and it's one of those ones that will pop up in the Spotify radio when I kind of do. I have like a new wave daily mix. So it's one of those songs that I'd kind of listened to already a little bit, and then it was a very prominent presence in this movie, and I was like, I fucking dig this song a lot already. And then Armie Hammer is dancing like a crazy asshole, and I love it. So that's how I felt about that movie. Like I said, and I saw it 2 days ago, so I'm still thinking about it, and it's only my number 4, just because I was pretty set in kind of how I felt about the 3 that come in front of it. But I don't know. It could jump up, if once I have a little bit more time to process it. So it's very immediate. It's the most immediate movie that I have to kind of process. So that obviously kind of plays a factor too. So I keep doing it. I keep talking. I keep talking and talking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all right, man. It's all right. Spill it all out. My number 4 is Baby Driver. Baby Driver was edited in such an artistic way. It was a badass movie with a over the top villain, and it was just a really fucking cool movie.
Villain, singular.
Villains, yeah, it was a really cool fucking movie, man. It was really cool.
It's got my boy in it.
It does have your boy in it. And I can appreciate your boy from Black Mirror. But it's one of those movies, and then what's gonna end up happening is you're gonna notice my picks are, I don't know what your picks are, but like I said, these movies are they bring different things to the table. So where Get Out offered critical writing successes and how it can incorporate modern day themes into a fictional film, was outstanding. And Baby Driver, it was overtly edited in a way to where you can appreciate the soundtrack, and it was almost like a ridiculous music video almost. It was so fucking good. And a bunch of kick-ass and stuff. It was a really cool movie. It was really cool. So that's why it was number 4. It's a really badass movie. Watch that movie. Number 3. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Get Out.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I've talked a little bit about this one already, so I don't need to get too crazy with it. But I think what I said, which is also what you said when you had it in your top 5. Was your number 5?
Number 5 is my Get Out.
Yeah.
Number
So
5 for me.
it takes quite a few genres and does them all well, and it touches on a lot of topics really kind of relevant in a meaningful way, and it maintained the balance of, it still had the juxtaposition of horror and humor, while also being laced with commentary of, I'm laughing at this, but fuck if this isn't true, and really kind of a lot of kind of the beats that it hit, and it was really fucking good. And like I said, it's hard to really kind of maintain that balance. And I horror is a difficult fucking genre, and I don't know that I would call this scary. It certainly plays with elements of the horror genre, subverting them at times, and embracing them at other times, kind of in the way Cabin in the Woods-esque in some ways,
Absolutely.
But it does it in a way that it's just really fucking well written, which is why I gave it my nod for best original screenplay, and I put it as my number 3 because it's just a really unique, perfect balance of many different things, and I don't think there's ever been anything like it before, and I don't know that there will ever be. I don't know that there will ever be anything like it again. It's kind of a lightning in a bottle kind of thing in some ways. Daniel Kaluuya as the main character in it is great. I wish I don't know his name, but his kind of best friend, the TSA agent, is fucking hilarious. Allison Williams as kind of his girlfriend is great. Bradley Whitford, is it Catherine Keener and Caleb Landry Jones, that fucker from American Made, all great in it. It's really good. It's really good.
My number 3 is Shape of Water.
I believe you mean La Forma del Agua.
I wish I could have pulled that off the cuff. My number 3 is La Forma del Agua. Yeah, I would have felt really fucking badass if I could have pulled that off the cuff. But yeah, actress-wise, production-wise, just the just everything about that movie it's a beautiful movie. It's a beautiful story. It's beautifully shot. Apparently, it's beautifully orchestrated, which I paid no mind to the score, just because, like I said, it must have blended in well with whatever was on screen. And it was just I was taken back by that movie. And I think another reason I was taken back is because it was such a fucking limited release, and I had to drive an hour to go see it. And I think that may have built the hype up a little bit. But it feels like, and like I said before, I am a Guillermo del Toro fan. He is probably one of my favorite directors. And you can tell that his heart and soul went into this movie. And you can tell those movies, because he's got a few of them, that he is just completely devoted in. And this is one of them, and you can tell, and it pays off in a big way. So down to the cast, and the production design, and the whole 9 yards. It's an outstanding movie. And that's why it's number 3. What's your number 3?
I already told you my number 3, you dickhead.
Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. What's your number 2?
Okay. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I think that our number 2 and our number 1s are the same movies, but I'm curious if we have the same order for them.
Okay.
My number 2 is Wind River.
Yeah, dude. My number 2 is Wind River.
All right. I think I have a feeling about what our number 1 is, but we'll get there.
We got same wavelengths.
Wind River is one of the most haunting movies I've probably ever seen. Certainly in 2017, it's the most haunting movie I've ever seen. And part of that was probably just not kind of walking in with any real expectations for what it was. I got a kind of vague idea of what it was about, but the performances in it, the thematic content, certainly, really kind of fucking wowed me, and in a big way. And Taylor Sheridan, he's a fucking auteur.
Absolutely.
I will watch anything that man writes, directs, whatever he's involved in. I'm immediately in the bag for it, because to this point, he's delivered nothing but excellence as far as I'm concerned. And Wind River is proof positive of that, and it's proof positive that he can excel in the director's chair, because Jeremy Renner, or Jeremy Renner as he is sometimes known, is wonderful in the lead role. And Elizabeth Olsen, kind of as the naive FBI agent, she's fucking fantastic too. Role could have had a little bit more to it. I know you mentioned that, but I thought that as far as her performance goes, she was wonderful. Gil Birmingham, as you mentioned, is your best supporting actor nod. Haunting performance, certainly. John Bernthal, and for maybe 5 minutes, fucking great, great. And I just absolutely adore the bleak, cold landscape that Wind River kind of depicts. It's a beautifully shot movie. But it's also just a beautifully told movie about a very evocative story, and it's just a chilling movie. And like I said, I don't. I wonder how I would have responded to it had I known kind of what I was walking into. That's a point that I'll mention when I talk about our number 1. But I didn't know what to expect, and it kind of blew me away. It's just a. I mean, I think it's a testament to Wind River that in this moment, as I'm trying to kind of think about what to say about Wind River, I'm at a loss for words at times, because it almost, I kind of have a lump in my throat thinking about what happened in Wind River, and thinking about kind of how that really impacted me, and kind of how I felt kind of, in the immediate aftermath, and kind of processing it.
I think it's incredibly telling when a film can take the set pieces of the film to try to convey the overall meaning of the story. And so, not to call back to this, because I know that that 99% of nobody, or 99% of everybody, I should say, will think I'm outlandish, but it's like Baraka, right? Baraka has no dialogue, and it tells a story that it wants us to tell through cinematography and the set pieces and whatever's on the screen, right? Wind River does the same exact thing by displaying a bleak landscape over and over and over and over again, and showing the feeling of loneliness and the hardships of that area through nothing but landscape shots. And it's a beautiful movie that it's one of those movies that I think you could honestly, and not to, I said it with Shape of Water, with the color. Take the color out of it, right? And it feels like it's you're telling this, you can tell the same story and it feels authentic for that time period without any color. With Wind River, you could shoot, I personally feel like you could shoot Wind River as a silent film and walk away with the same impact that you walked away with the dialogue. Not to the detriment of the dialogue, but I feel like the story is conveyed through the acting and through the set pieces and the cinematography well enough to where you can walk away with the same exact emotion that you walked away with having the dialogue. And that might be a little abstract. It might be hard for everybody to understand, but just everything's conveyed on so many different levels to where it's just a really powerful fucking movie. And then the little thing at the end, what would you call that? There's text at the end of the film before the credits. And
coda, I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, and it just fucking hits. It hits hard, and it's a sad thing. It's a very sad movie. Incredibly well made movie. That's why it's my number 2. I'm curious. I'm sure we had the same number 1.
My number 1 is Justice League.
I don't see it happening.
I thought that Jason Momoa's performance as Aquaman was just one of the most captivating things I've ever seen on screen. And I don't want to discredit the performance of Ray Fisher as Cyborg, because I thought that the way that he captured no emotion whatsoever was particularly moving. And then Ben Affleck as sorry guys, I didn't bring a sword. I thought was and the way that he piloted the useless vehicle.
You're talking about like the spider crawler thing?
The crawler, whatever the fuck that shit was called.
Yeah.
I know what it's called because I'm a big Justice League fan, and it was my number 1
bat
film
crawler,
for the year.
Maybe?
It was probably the bat crawler. You could just put bat in front of shit. It's probably fine. I thought the way that did absolutely nothing in that set piece except for cling to a wall. I thought that was pretty good. And I enjoyed, I don't know who did the effects work, but it's pretty clear that they had like 3 years to do their work, and it really showed because
you couldn't even tell Henry Cavill had a
you couldn't
mustache.
tell. I mean, I knew walking in that Henry Cavill had a mustache, and I'll admit that I got confused. I thought he was supposed to have the mustache in Justice League, and so I kept looking for it. I'm like, it looks like there should be a mustache there, but then they just digitally erased it. So I was confused because I see what happened is that was actually just Henry Cavill's face, and that they'll digitally impose the mustache in Mission Impossible. That's why it looked the way that it did in Justice League, because it wasn't because there was poor effects work in it. It was because they just wanted to have enough upper lip space there so that you could digitally render a mustache onto his face and be convincing, because otherwise there wouldn't be enough lip space for an actual mustache to be convincingly superimposed on there, and so Mission Impossible would be fucking shit.
Number 1 for me, yours might be Justice League, but my number 1's Blade Runner.
You son of a bitch.
Runner
You son of a bitch.
far-
I've been boxed into Justice League. It was a joke. I understand I carried the joke too far, but you can't do this to me now.
What was your number 1?
I thought I was going to come up with a second joke, and I was just like, what's another shitty movie that I could think of? No. It's Blade Runner. It's Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, look at there. We agree on the top two movies.
It's definitely Blade Runner. Because I kind of cut you off. But I will say, though, that and when I was doing this, and for the longest time this year, I had Wind River as my number 1, and I had Blade Runner as my number 2. But it was pretty recently that I kind of flip-flopped those. Should I get into that now? Do you want me to?
Yeah, get into it, dude.
Okay, well,
like 90% of my picks were for Blade Runner. So I mean, whatever your opinions are on Blade Runner, just dump it out.
Okay, so I kind of alluded to this when I was talking about Wind River. When I walked into Wind River, I didn't have any expectations, and then I was blown away by it. You know, I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. But I didn't know what to expect walking in. You know, it wasn't that I had low expectations. It's just that I didn't have any expectations whatsoever. I just kind of just reacted. I just reacted to what was presented to me. Blade Runner's different. Blade Runner, I walked in with very high expectations because it had everything going for it. It had Denis Villeneuve, very talented director, Sicario, Arrival, Prisoners, Ryan Gosling, great actor, Harrison Ford coming back as Deckard. You know, it had the legacy of Blade Runner to live up to. Had a lot going for it, except for maybe Jared Leto. You know, I had Jared Leto, but I don't know. That's like a thing that you categorize as like, yeah,
right.
I don't that.
Jared Leto's fucking good.
We'll see. We'll see how that works out. He's talented. Dallas Buyers Club is fucking. He's talented when he can be.
Right.
We'll just pretend Suicide Squad doesn't exist because I think my life would be better without it. My point being, Blade Runner had everything going for it, and I saw the trailers for it, and I'm like, "Whoa, this looks fucking excellent." Roger Deakins, cinematography, you know, like you said, everything had everything going for it. So I walked in expecting greatness. What I got exceeded my expectations. And when you walk in with high expectations for something to surpass that, that's high praise. I think that's high praise.
Right.
And that's why when I had to kind of sit down and think about which do I think I enjoyed more, which do I think I got more out of, did I get more out of Blade Runner, did I get more out of Wind River? I think Wind River is fucking excellent. Goes without saying. It's my number 2 movie of the year. Blade Runner is absolutely my shit. It is the most my shit it can be already. And for it to be not only my shit, but to be something that captivates me for a nearly 3-hour runtime, yeah. That's what makes the number 1 movie for the year. When you ask me, something that can go beyond your expectations when you didn't even know that your expectations allowed for that. That's Blade Runner 2049.
Oh yeah.
So I'll let you kind of take it from there, and then I'll kind of maybe follow on to what you.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, like you said, you go in with expectations, they're already high. Now, very seldom do you take high expectations and exceed them. And when a film can take increasingly high expectations and push the envelope, that says a lot about the movie. But even if you exclude the IP, right, and you just take the movie by itself, it's an incredibly beautiful, well-made movie. And when I say beautiful, I don't mean purely aesthetic. I mean down to the content. It's an incredibly well-made movie. It hit a lot of notes, emotional notes, a lot of emotional resonance. For the sci-fi genre in general, it did a whole lot. And it's an incredible movie. Incredible movie. Yeah, so like I said, it took home, best cinematography for me, best supporting actress for me. And I think it took home one other one, but I can't find my mouse to scroll up.
What'd you do with your mouse? Where'd you put it?
Oh, best visual effects and best score. So, needless to say, I was pretty fond of the movie, and I've talked about it over and over and over again tonight. But my number one pick, and it's not going to be... So, I would say out of my 5 picks, I would say that Shape of Water and Blade Runner aren't for everybody. Now, I think that you can go in... I think that anybody can appreciate the story of Wind River. I think that the average moviegoer can enjoy Baby Driver. And from what I've heard, Get Out is almost polarized, which is upsetting because it's just a fucking awesome movie. I don't know how that movie could be polarized. It shouldn't be polarized, but apparently it is. Maybe that's just where I live. Where people are just fucking racist, I guess. I don't know.
I was going to go there, and I held myself back, but...
it's probably just where I live.
Probably not too far off the mark.
We'll exclude that one. But I fully expect that not everybody wants to see a 2.5 hour, 3 hour Blade Runner movie?
Yeah, I think it's 2 hours. Yeah, it's probably 2.5 hours minus credits, but it's a long movie. It's a lengthy movie. Yeah, it is not
right. So I can understand if you don't
reserved.
Appreciate that. And Shape of Water, in and of itself, is a little bit of a different movie because it's a Guillermo del Toro movie. So I could understand where those two movies don't quite hit a mark with you. But if you can go into a movie and just appreciate the amount of effort that went into it and the craftsmanship that made the movie what it is, Blade Runner 2049 takes the cake because it is an incredible movie. Just the amount of work and effort that went into it is definitely apparent. And it pays off in a big way. So my number one movie for 2017 is Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. Well, what else can I add? I mean, I guess to kind of elaborate, I guess, on kind of what I was getting at. I love sci-fi. It's my genre of choice. I think if I had to pick a genre of choice, I like Ryan Gosling a lot. I think he's a very handsome man. I think he's a very talented actor. I like Harrison Ford a lot. Sometimes Harrison Ford doesn't give a shit. When Harrison Ford gives a shit, I give a shit. Harrison Ford gave a shit in this movie.
Absolutely.
Ana de Armas as Joy in this movie. You talked about it. I briefly mentioned it. Beautiful performance. Sylvia Hooks as Love. Also a very kind of out there performance, but a fucking really good one too. Jared Leto. Pretty good. He was a fun presence, and he was a pretty minimal presence. Who, in the scheme of things, like I said, like really Love is really kind of the main antagonistic threat. Certainly a physical threat, I guess, kind of throughout most of the movie, but Nina Wallace is just kind of an underlying threat, and I expect that if we get a Blade Runner 2079 or whatever the fuck they end up making it, I expect that Jared Leto will be a presence in that, and that's cool. I don't mind that, but beyond the performances, you said the production design of it, everything is just beautiful, and yeah, it's building on the world that a once not senile Ridley Scott did construct in the original Blade Runner, which obviously was, I would say, relatively loosely adapted from Philip K. Dick's Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. Having read it, one of the few things that I have read, shout out to my boys eating to film, there's a lot of inspiration there for the movie, but it definitely does its own thing. And I think in terms of the design of it, the visual design, production design of it, it very much is about establishing its own identity. And it's something that has, to this day, inspired probably countless movies in terms of kind of their aesthetic. I lost my train of thought, but I fucking love Blade Runner 2049 so much.
That's the bottom line. You love that shit.
Now, I would say, if I had to say a bottom line about Blade Runner 2049, I would say it's capable of busting a bunker under the bunker you just busted. If it were any smarter, write a book that would make Ulysses look like it was written in crayon and read it to you.
Tony Stark built us in a cave with a box of scraps.
It's the Eiffel Tower. It's the Rachmaninoff's third. It's the Pieta. It's completely elegant.
fuck.
It's bafflingly beautiful, and it's capable of reducing the population of any standing structure to zero. We call it the ex-wife.
Listen, dude, that is so fucking fun to say.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
It's almost as fun as...
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not Tony Stark. All right. Any parting words over Blade Runner? Are you settled with that? I think we've done a pretty good job of presenting our case. I think not only in terms of kind of just talking about it, obviously within the context of it being our top 5, but really in terms of covering it in our categories. As I said, you mentioned it in quite a few of yours, and for me, if it wasn't a winner, it was a runner-up in damn near almost all of them, with really the exception of acting for me. Surprisingly, strong performances across the board, just not, I guess, maybe the showiest kind of performances, I guess, that you kind of get with your best actor. I mean, like Ryan Gosling's great as Kay, but you don't really think of him as when I think of best actor, I don't think of Ryan Gosling in that role, interestingly enough. But I keep rambling. I think that's a good sign that it's time to call it here, where we're going on damn near 4 hours of coverage at this point. So yeah, that will do it for our coverage of
2017.
And quite the coverage it was. So if this is your first time joining us here, thank you for tuning in. And if you're coming back for our Part 2 coverage after listening to our Part 1 coverage for 2017, then thank you as well.
And if you've listened to 4 hours worth of coverage, be sure to check out that Patreon page, because there's some exclusive content that's going to be going there first before it hits the main feed.
Indeed. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to expand on what we alluded to at the beginning of the episode. So we're on Patreon, and basically, for those who are not aware what Patreon is, it's the platform basically to help creators out financially. So we're not asking for anything more than basically what we already are doing. You know, we're always going to have our free weekly episodes. That's not going to change. But basically, you know, it costs us some money to really keep this running in terms of website costs, in terms of hosting costs for the actual episodes themselves. Just technical shit behind the scenes. It's not really important. What is important is that we just decided to expand and allow this opportunity for you guys to help us out. You know, we've been around now since August of 2017, so now that we're a little bit more established, we kind of know what we're doing. We just kind of thought it would be a good time for, kind of opening up the opportunity for you guys to kind of help us out. And in return, we're going to give you guys some pretty awesome content. In addition to the regularly scheduled content. So we're going to announce what we're going to be doing now as for our first set of bonus episodes. We're going to be covering the Marvel Cinematic Universe in its entirety.
Phase by phase.
Phase by phase through Infinity War, up until Infinity War drops. And we're not going to do it alone. Our very good friend Henry K. Jamie will be joining us to cover the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's going to be a ton of fun. Andrew mentioned it. We're going to do Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, basically 6 movies at a time, as it turns out.
Exactly.
And I think it's going to be a lot of fun because as kind of was the case with this episode here, or I guess our set of 2017 episodes as it was. It's a lot of discussion, and it's a lot of discussion about stuff that we've had a lot of time to sit and think about. Iron Man 1 came out in 2008, which, it's coming on to literally a decade.
And all three of us have seen it a handful of times, so...
Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen... so many times. Well, I'm sure we'll cover similar territory when we get into it, but long story short, there's going to be a lot of really cool shit that you guys are going to want to listen to, and Patreon's going to be the way to get access to that immediately. So, if you're interested in that, if you're interested in hearing more content, you're going to get bonus episodes like those. You're going to get immediate access to all of our regular episodes before they go up on the free, regular audio feed for everyone else. So there's a lot of really cool shit that you guys need to check out. And patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat is going to be the way to do it. Or you make it easy on yourselves. Go to watchreviewrepeat.com, check out our awesome new website, and go to the premium tab. It's going to get you everything you need as far as getting to our Patreon and becoming a supporter and helping us out.
Get you
$2 a month.
Exclusive content.
Yeah,
timed
absolutely.
exclusive content. Because if you don't have the extra money, we're not going to penalize you for not having the extra money. The episodes will be released, but they're timed exclusive, so you'll have access to them if you can subscribe. You'll have access to them a lot sooner than when we put it out there.
Right. Yeah. We don't want to lock anyone out of things that we're going to do. We're putting plenty of our time and energy into doing something. So we want everyone to hear it, but we do want to give people an opportunity to kind of get a chance to listen to it before anyone else. So it's the exclusivity factor of it, if you will.
Because it would certainly be nice if it did not cost us money for us to do this.
Right. So, like I said, no pressure. If you want to stick with the regular feed, you're going to get everything anyway. So it's just an option on the table for you guys, and we're not telling you what to do. Where you said nothing's changing with us. It's just we're going to be putting more content out there. It's just a matter of do you want to listen to it now? Do you want to be the first ones to listen to it? If I was in your shoes, I would absolutely do it, but I'm a little biased in that regard, so maybe I'm not the most trustworthy source of information there. So,
on a side note,
yeah.
the website. If you explore this website and there's things missing, or there's things that you would like to have on the website, or if you think the structure of the website is off, or if you have any sort of critiques or input whatsoever, feel free to reach out to us, and I promise you that your input will be taken with the utmost attention, because we put a lot of time into building the website, and if you have any sort of like I said, if you have any sort of input, I'd be interested in hearing it to see if it can improve the functionality of it. So be sure to reach out to us if you have any sort of input on the website, the Patreon, the content that we're putting out, or just any input whatsoever. Be sure to reach out to us, because we're all ears all the time.
Absolutely. So the easiest way to get in contact with us is probably through social media or through email. There's handy links up in the top right corner of our website. Again, watchreviewrepeat.com. I think it's easy to remember, but that's beside the point.
We're a little biased.
Yeah. But if you wanted to go directly to our socials, search for us on Facebook. We're Watch Review Repeat there. We are at WRR Pod on Twitter. And we're always looking at that shit. So yeah, please get in touch with us that way. Send us an email at watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. And, like I said, if you, suggestions for improvement, or if you're having issues with functionality, anything, or, just comments, feedback, anything like that. We want to hear from you guys. We absolutely want to hear from you guys. So please get in touch with us, if you feel so inclined. And let's see here. Okay. Kevin MacLeod has generously provided our intro and outro track for another week. That is
that's a generous dude.
That is a track by the name of Mechanolith, and it is licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Our next episode is going to be a look ahead to 2018 and all of the magical film and television releases that will be accompanying the year. So that'll be fun. Lots of good things to look forward to, I would say. Yeah, you got anything to add on that, Andrew?
No, it's going to be an exciting year. We got a lot of really good movies to look forward to.
Yeah.
It's next. The next episode's going to be pure speculation based on
news, trailers, pictures.
Exactly. what I'm looking forward to is to see how our opinions base out, because one of my favorite things to do is to watch a trailer and look at promotion art and kind of cast a judgment on that and then see how it pans out, because there's nothing better than being surprised, and then at the same time there's nothing more gratifying than being right. You know what I'm saying?
And there's also nothing more crushing than having your hopes and dreams just being crushed into tiny specks of dust.
Right. So I'm interested to see, and we need to make it a special point, and this is almost on a side note, but we need to make it a special point to be whatever films that we cover in the 2018 prediction episode, we need to be able to review whenever they come out, because I'm interested to see how how our opinions for the forecast pan out. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a fun episode. Be sure
it'll be fun,
in.
and it's the first time we'll have a chance to do that. We started pretty late in the game in 2017, so that's kind of the joy of the whole thing. So yeah, I agree that'll be a lot of fun. Make sure you don't miss that episode. All right, we've blabbered on for far too long. Let's call it here. Andrew,
have a good night.
You heard him. Adios.
Adios.